Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure we would say March has blown in like a lion, but with the cold days we've been having and the lingering snow, we certainly aren't yet feeling like spring is just around the corner. But even so, we do sense movement toward new life and hope on several fronts here in the congregation. Our updates today are about the transition toward the coming ministry of David Greiser and about when we might again have worship services in our church space.
The first Sunday that David Greiser will be with us in his new role as lead pastor will be on May 16th. That begins a 2-week overlap with Beth continuing to serve at the level she is now. And then Beth will take a 6-week leave so that she can do the necessary letting go of the responsibilities that she has been carrying in her role as acting lead pastor. That 6-week period will also give Dave time and space to step into his new role. We are grateful that Dorcas has agreed to continue through those 6 weeks as well, which will take us to just about mid-July.
Of course, not too much beyond that will come Maria's maternity leave, as baby Hostler Byler is due to make an appearance sometime in the last half of August. We look forward to working at further planning for that once Dave is on board. So stay tuned for details as we continue to get them figured out.
The other big movement toward new life and hope comes as we look ahead to the possibility of moving our worship services back into the church. The reopening task force and the pastoral team are ready to put out a suggested timeline that comes in 2 stages. Of course, any plans we make could change depending on what happens with the new forms or variants of the virus that could increase the number of cases, or if the vaccines are not effective against these new forms of the virus.
Our timeline for returning to worship in our church space will be determined primarily by how quickly and widely vaccination is able to happen in Montgomery County. We are imagining the first stage of our return to indoor worship might begin mid-April or maybe early May, when the most vulnerable people have been able to receive the vaccine if they want it. In that stage, we will still practice the precautions of wearing masks, keeping 6 feet distance, and staying within whatever the capacity guidelines are put out by Pennsylvania state officials. If we were to return right now, for example, that would mean a limit of about 60 to 65 people, but we expect that number to go up over time. The very earliest we might look to have an indoor service is April 18th, but it really does depend what is happening with vaccination and with these new forms of the virus before we know for sure what date it will be.
And no matter when we might meet again in the church building, we will continue to live stream the services on Facebook and YouTube, at least through the rest of this calendar year. We expect it will be a gradual process until we are all back together again for something that approaches the normal that we knew before the pandemic.
Then we are anticipating that the second stage of coming back together for indoor worship might come mid to late summer. At that point, we would not be limiting the number of people who could come, and masks and distancing will be optional. To begin that stage, we'll be watching for word that all persons ages 16 and above who want to be vaccinated have the opportunity and have been vaccinated. If things go as we hope, we will also plan toward resuming children's Sunday school and other gatherings for children and adults just after Labor Day this fall.
And again, know that we will continue to live stream our worship services on Facebook and YouTube through at least the rest of this calendar year for anyone who wants to join worship in that way.
We are not yet completely through the woods. but there are many signs of hope and promise and new life ahead. As we continue to wait and walk through what is and hang in there with safe practices, we encourage you
to get vaccinated when it becomes available to you,
to remember that we are here for you, and to contact us if you are wanting prayer or space for talking and being listened to, or if there's some other way we can be helpful to you.
And we encourage you to hold fast to our Lenten faith that deep calls to deep, trusting firmly that from the depths of God's love comes infinite grace to meet each and all of us in the depths of our life experience. So now receive this blessing that meets you in the wilderness, written by Jan Richardson.
after the desert stillness, after the rustling, after the hours and days and weeks of emptying,
After the hungering and thirsting, after the opening and seeing and knowing, let this blessing be the first sweetness that touches your lips, the bread that falls into your arms, the cup that welcoming hands press into yours.
Let this blessing be the road that returns you. Let it be the strength to carry the wilderness home. May strength and grace and hope be yours this day. Peace to you, dear friends.